Hello, this is Shanjung here. In this video, let us go over 50 powerful sales questions that is developed by the RAIN group. Okay, so asking inside sales question is essential for the sales success. Correct sales questions help you to find out what is going on in your buyer's world. They help you to connect with the buyers, understand their need, understand what is important to them, and help them to create better futures for themselves. And they help you to disrupt buyer thinking and change buyers' perception of what is true and what is possible. They help you to drive the sale forward and avoid people that can derail the sale along the way. Great sales questions help you win the sale. In this guide made from the RAIN group, they share 50 of the most powerful sales questions you can use in the conversation. And these questions are broken down into groupings following this RAIN selling framework for leading sales conversation: rapport, aspiration, affliction, and impact, and your reality. And it also includes the questions for insight selling that you can use to get buyers to think differently, and questions to help you to drive the sales process forward. Lastly, this guide is also including the two most important categories of questions: close-ended questions, which are rarely talked about in sales but can be very helpful, and your power booster follow-up questions. So let's talk about the developing rapport questions. Before buyers will open up to you about their needs and desire, they have to be comfortable with you. Comfort and trust begin with rapport. Building rapport is sometimes dismissed as a ploy to make superficial connections with a buyer. You should not make superficial connections. You should make genuine ones. Genuine rapport sets the table for the rest of the conversation. And here are 7 sales questions to help you build rapport. First, what did you do last weekend? Questions about offer activities give you insight into what actually matters to your buyer. You will learn about kids, pets, hobbies, passion projects, and more. People appreciate it when you ask about these things during subsequent conversations too. Second question will be, what's going on in your business these days? Asking about business in general seems broad, but buyers will often rattle off few things that are most important to them. Giving you ideas for cross-selling and upselling later, it also shows buyer that you are curious and want to know what's going on beyond the particular sale. Number 3, how have things in your business changed given insert an industry event? Industry impact questions demonstrate your familiarity with an industry in buyer's business beyond simply stating, yes, we've worked in industry. Number 4, it was good to hear the short version of your background at the meeting, but since we are out for lunch, I'd love to get long version. What's your story? People love talking about themselves. If you've already done the 20,000-foot overview talk, asking for more details shows that you are truly interested in learning more, but only if you do it genuinely. Number 5, I have to say I really like the way you don't just have your values up on the wall like every company, but you have all the comments from your team about what the values mean to them. How did you all come up with that? I'm guessing you learned a lot about your company and team. Thoughts? Knowing your buyer's leadership style and more about the company culture will give you a better idea of how to communicate with them during the sales process and when you start working with them. It also shows that you are attentive and genuinely interested in them. This is just the example. The idea is to ask about something that truly intrigues you. Number 6, you mentioned you want to retire in a few years. What are you thinking of doing then? Like the weekend questions, a question about a buyer's future will help you to understand what is important to them and what they are passionate about when they are not working. It will help you relate on the personal level and find the common ground. After all, people buy from people they like. Number 7, what were you doing before you were at this company? Your buyer's career path may come in handy because it will give you a sense of where they've been and where you are headed. In some cases, you may discover that a buyer pivoted in their career, which is a great opportunity to ask more questions. Discovering of aspiration and affliction. Most sales advice suggests that you must first uncover the problem or pain afflictions to sell products or services as solutions to needs. This advice too often drives sellers to employ find out what's wrong and fix it thinking. The sellers most successful at creating opportunities also focuses on the positive, the buyer's goals, aspiration, and the possibility of the buyer doesn't even know exist. You must ask the questions that uncover both aspiration and affliction. Here are 10 such questions. 8. If at the end of this hour, you look back and thought that was an hour well spent, what would you have covered? What better way to run a meeting than to make sure you cover exactly what matters to the buyer? Plus, these questions get to aspiration and affliction for the meeting, which ensures you are not only focusing on pain points. Number 9. Why isn't this particular technology or service product situation issues working for you right now? Many buyers are willing to talk to sellers because something they are doing or using right now isn't working for them. It is important to know what you are up against. Number 10. Many of our clients report problems with A, B, and C. How are these areas affecting you? What do you think about them? This is another great way to establish expertise and industry credibility. It also asks the buyer to think about their challenges in a different way or consider challenges they hadn't identified previously. The idea is to ask specific open-ended questions that show you know the area well. Number 11. What's holding you back from reaching your revenue or profit or other goals? Learning about obstacle early in the conversation is imperative. If the buyer believes the obstacle is insurmountable, it is up to you to show them why it's not and how to get past it. Number 12. What goals and objectives do you have in general for the business, for this particular area? Finding out about your buyer's hopes, goals, and aspirations allow you to focus on positives during your conversation and uncover needs the buyers hadn't previously considered but should. Number 13. Assuming they set the meeting, why did you ask me to talk with you today? You may already know why the buyer set the meeting, but it doesn't hurt to revisit the questions to make sure you are on the same page. It's also possible there have been a development since the meeting was set, so it is useful to see if there are any updates. Number 14. Assuming you set the meeting. As I mentioned earlier, I'd like to share a few ideas that have helped our clients succeed in the X, Y, Z areas. Before we get going, by the time we are done with this meeting, what else might you like to cover? It's possible the buyer had something else in mind when they're accepted at the meeting with you beyond your intentions. This is a good way to check in before you start talking to ensure the meeting is as valuable as possible. Number 15. What's your sense of what needs to happen to improve that, make progress here and change that? Knowing your buyer's perspective on the situation and how they think it can be addressed will give you an idea of what things like company culture, how receptive they will be onto your idea, how to frame your solution, service, product, etc. Number 16. What kind of opportunities do you see for improvement in this area? This is a great question to uncover both aspiration and an affliction. By getting the buyers to articulate the opportunities for the improvement, they are likely to talk about both the problems they have in this area and their vision for what it could like aspiration. Number 17. What have you done in the past to address this issue and try to reach this goal? As you're formulating your solutions, you don't want to suggest something the buyer has already tried and failed. You either want to build on to what they're doing or change it altogether, neither of which you can do without this question. Demonstrating the impact. You must demonstrate to the buyer how working with you is going to improve their world. What are the personal implications? Business ones? Help the buyer see the impact of your work together. Number 18. If you could overcome these challenges, what would happen to your company's financial situation? You need to get the buyers to quantify the impact of working with you. It's one thing to tell the buyers that on average, you are able to save your clients $20,000 to $50,000 in operating costs. It's another for them to do the calculation themselves and see the impact on their business. Number 19. If you were to make this happen, what would it mean for you personally? The more of a stake of the buyer has in the seeing the result realized, the more buy-in you will get, and the more likely the buyer is to support you internally. Beyond financial impact, you want to help the buyer look good. For example, maybe your project will help the buyer get the promotions they want. Number 20. How implementing these changes affect your competitiveness in the market? Maybe your project will help the company grow the market share, become more profitable than competitors, or be more innovative in the market. Whatever it is, you need your buyers to articulate how working with you will give them a leg up over their competition. 21. What won't happen if you choose not to move forward with this? When urgency to move forward is an issue, ask what won't happen. As the buyers likely already knows what won't happen, but saying it out loud to you makes it more real. You don't want to scare the buyer, but creating fuel for action can be helpful. Number 22. How do you think the board of directors would evaluate the success of this initiative? Knowing the metrics by which your work will be judged is the first step to success. By knowing this ahead of time, you are able to put systems in place to track them from get-go. Number 23. If you don't solve the then challenges here, what kind of difficulties will you face going forward? Again, looking at the cost of inaction can create a fuel for moving forward. This question is also helpful as a buyer starting to piecemeal your product or solution. Defining the new reality. One of the greatest difficulties in sales is helping the buyer understand exactly what they get when they work with you. You need to paint a compelling before and after picture of what you'll achieve by working together. You can only do this when you know what's truly important to the buyer, which is going to be different for each one. Here are 8 questions to help you to uncover what is important to the buyers so you can paint the most compelling picture of their new reality. 24. If you were to wave at a magic wand to make it 2 years from now and this all works out, how will things be different? Your part of the organization's 3-year plan is likely a small one, but getting the whole picture will both get you the buyer excited about the possibilities and help you see where else you might work together. 25. In early sales conversation, you mentioned you are not having a good experience with your current provider. If you are working with us, what are you hoping will be different? Especially in your efforts to unseat an incumbent, you want to know what's not working now to formulate a plan to be different or better. This will also give you an indication of the buyer's expectation. 26. In a later sales conversation, given all we've talked about, what do you see as being different if you were to move forward together? This question gets the buyer thinking about change and envisioning the future possibilities. 27. What does success look like for you personally? Having the buyer vocalize how the success of the project would impact their personal life and or career creates the excitement and generates the additional buy-in. After all, people buy with their heart and justify with their head. You need to appeal to both. 28. What does success look like for your business? It's important to know how buyers are going to evaluate the success of your initiative. In painting your picture of the new reality, you need to clearly define what the end goal looks like for their business, for them personally, for the project, and for your relationship working together. Don't make assumptions here. Get the buyer to articulate their future state both from a rational and emotional standpoint. This question and the next few will help buyers to articulate this vision. 29. What does success look like for this project? Establishing success metrics is important before you start, but you also want to make sure your buyer has realistic expectations for the result you can achieve. Number 30. What does success look like for us working together? Your primary contact is most frequently your champion, the person who will help you to navigate their organization and push the initiative forward. Establishing a strong relationship with them is essential for success. Number 31. If there were no restriction on you, money, effort, political issues and so on, what would you change? Can you tell me why you said it? A question like this indicates that what's most important to the buyer in this situation and give you the opportunity to help them get there even when the stated obstacles in the way. Generating insight. Powerful sales question can also be used to disrupt the buyer thinking and to get them thinking differently. We can call this insight selling. Many people think insight selling is all about educating buyers through presentations. They are about half right, but without the other half, they are missing out on the full impact of insight selling. The missing link is asking insightful questions that disrupt the buyer thinking. If you can change a buyer's perception of what's true and what's possible, you can influence their agenda for an action. Here are 8 most powerful questions for insight selling success. 32. Why? Why is your strategies? Why do you say that? Why do A versus B? By asking why, you are asking buyers to justify something. If they can do so convincingly, good for them, but oftentimes they cannot. This opens up opportunity for you to help. 33. How? How do you see this panning out? How do you think you need to proceed so that it becomes a part of your culture? How much you avoid them to common changes like X, Y, and Z? How questions help the buyer start thinking about the new reality. Sometimes they have a strong reasoning for why to do something, but they don't have a strong plans for how to get it done. When you help buyers think about how, it helps them avoid problems and develop plans that will make everything work better. How questions can be very powerful for generating insight. Number 34. What have you tried that hasn't worked? This question will help you to understand their thinking and help you see the gaps between what they know won't work and what you know will. Number 35. Have you considered A, B, C, etc.? If not, why? You may find out they did, but did not approach it right, or didn't know about the new advancement in this area. Maybe they didn't know better options existed. You can bring them to the table. Number 36. If I said I believe you might have underinvested to achieve this outcome in the past, what would you say? When many buyers try to do something in the first time, they look to cheaper options. Then those cheaper options fail. This kind of questions can push the buyers out of their comfort zone. They might say, well, what should I have done? Or, the ROI wasn't worth spending more. Most answers give you opportunity to bring insight to the table. Number 37. What do you think is possible? What's possible for action? What's possible for solution choices? Whatever you find here gives you the chance to alter the buyer's perception. 38. How do you know that? Here you are testing the buyer's assumption. This can be tricky, but thinking critically together helps to broaden their perspective and consider other possibilities. 39. What do you think is missing? Once you open the buyer's mind to other possibilities, questions like this may spark additional ideas or consideration. Use close-ended question. Much sales advice tells you to avoid using close-ended question. Close-ended questions have a time and place and can be very powerful. Close-ended questions can be great for diagnosis and ruling things out. After any close-ended questions, use one of the follow-up questions to get the prospects to continue talking. Number 40. Would you say all of your customer service reps are using the technologies to its full ability? This question is all about finding holes in the buyer's operational process and isn't limited to reps and tech. Replace with the project managers and building materials and you have different conversations with a different buyer. Number 41. Should your teams be doing more of X? Similar to many of the questions in the area. If they say yes, you can explore this further. If they say no, you can do the same. Push the buyer with the questions that get them to question their initial response. Number 42. Do you think you are doing all you can in insert area? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But these questions coupled with the follow-up questions will challenge them to deeply consider their efforts. Number 43. Do you think insert area is a problem for you? If they say yes, you can explore it. If they say no, same thing. You can push them with the questions that get them to the questions their initial response. As the expert, you've seen the problems that other companies in their space have. These questions will establish you as knowledgeable about their industry and exposes potential pitfalls. Persistence helps you dig deeper. Follow-up questions provide a powerful boost to your sales questioning. These 3 questions alone can instantly uncover a remarkable amount of valuable information. 44. How so? Understanding the buyer's perception of situations will not only give you the further insight into how to address it, but also a glimpse of a buyer's thought process. 45. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Whether you don't understand, want to know more about, or think there's an opportunity in this area, digging a little deeper will give you the clarity you need. 46. Why? Yes, this is listed twice. Asking why a few more times can open the door for a new insight as you get to the underlying cause of the problem. This allows you to create a better, more durable solution. Don't stop there. There are 4 kinds of sales questions: problem and possibility, process, perception, and page. We've already covered the problem and possibilities. To win sales, you also need to know what the buyer process is, what the buyer's perceptions are, and whether or not you are on the same page. 47. Process question. If you got to the point where we move forward together, who on your side would need to be involved to make sure we can get this project underway? If your contact isn't a decision maker, or is only one of the team, this is where you find out whether other the players are and work on getting in front of them. 48. Page question. We just covered XYZ over the last 15 minutes. To summarize the key points, insert summary here. Did I capture the essence right, or am I missing anything? This is a good practice for any meeting to ensure everybody is on the same page. But it is especially important in sales to confirm you understand the buyer's situation correctly. Number 49. Perception question. Just checking in as we've been working on this for a few weeks now. How are you feeling about how things are going? Are we on the right track? While you may think that things are going smoothly, the buyer may have a different idea of how things are going right or wrong. Asking this regularly allows you to stay on the right track or course correct if necessary. 50. Last question. Perception question also. Is there anything not sitting well with you, with our process, our offering? How are we interacting? Anything that gives you pause about moving forward? Again, this will give you an idea of buyer's perception of how things are going, but also may uncover hidden objection. I'll put the PDF links to the description, so please check this PDF file out and hope this was helpful. Thank you.